Hey guys, and welcome to my channel. In this video, I'm gonna do a short Q&A on some questions that you have asked me. So I'm gonna jump right into this. The first one that I'm gonna talk about is somebody who keeps asking about handcuffing demonstrations. No, I'm not gonna do a handcuffing demonstration because number one, this is not a defensive tactics channel. That's not something that I share in here. And number two, I am not a defensive tactics instructor. Although I am an instructor, I am not a defensive tactics instructor. So that's not something that I'm qualified to teach. And that is something that is taught in law enforcement. So if you're interested in that, I would encourage you to look into a Citizens Police Academy or join a police academy, and they will show you everything you need to know about that. The next question I wanted to talk about was discussing rewarding experiences. And it's interesting because as negative sometimes as law enforcement may kind of feel with the media in our day and age, there are so many rewarding things that I've been able to do in policing in general. At least it's felt rewarding for me, and it's made it worth it for me personally. Anytime you can have an impact on somebody's life or community, when you can help make a community a safer place, or you can take somebody out of a place where they were being victimized, that is huge. It's absolutely incredible, and it's such a great feeling. I am just completely beyond disturbed and disgusted by anybody who would choose to hurt, abuse, or neglect a child, an elderly person, or an animal. Because oftentimes these are people who cannot stand up for, or beings really, that can't stand up for or, express that they're being hurt or neglected themselves. And I absolutely hate it. One really incredible thing that you can do in law enforcement is arrest people who would do those things, or hold those people accountable to whatever you're able to do in a situation. Whether it's getting them out of a place where they're being abused, or getting them at least somewhere where they're not going to be experiencing that anymore. And also as a supervisor, being able to be there for officers when they need somebody to talk to, or they have an issue or problem, that is extremely meaningful to me, because I feel very responsible for things that happen to them. Obviously, when we're at work, if there's anything I can do to help them feel better about work, be more accommodating at work, or assist them with what they need, we are always there and we're always available. So I find a great sense of fulfillment being able to be there for officers, just in the context of, I'm the supervisor, and we're there as a team, and we're looking to get things done, obviously, but to help people along the way with whatever they need. One thing I really enjoy too is when I see people who need encouragement and motivation, or I know this person or this officer and I think they'd be a really good supervisor. Because to me, the first thing that makes you a good supervisor, and before you can get to leadership in any capacity, is being a good person and having a good heart. And there are just so many people who do not have that. It's just not there for them. They are not it. One thing I think is very valuable in law enforcement is if you can first take a good person, they're gonna be a better police officer than anybody who wasn't a good person to begin with, and then they're going to be an even better supervisor. So this next question is about if I've ever had difficult days as police officers, and I kind of talked about that before. I hate seeing people be victims of anything, or if somebody is injured or killed. That is all very difficult. And then I also, probably my worst day as a police officer ever was when one of my coworkers was killed on duty, and one of my watchmates texted me and he's like, "Hey, did you know so-and-so is dead?" And I did not know. I hadn't seen anything online or on social media. I had no idea. And my coworker had been killed. She was killed on the interstate, and a drunk driver had hit her, and that was very hard. And she wasn't assigned to our watch, she was assigned to the watch after, but she was such an incredible person. She was so kind and loving and helpful, and that was really hard on our entire assignment. alignment, like that entire district. It was really difficult on everybody to not only lose another officer, but to lose an officer who was so great and meant so much to everybody. It was really, really hard. And as far as how we operate and what we do and what we're supposed to do to stay our safest, she did everything absolutely correct, and still that happened. The next question, and this will probably be the last one because I want to keep this video shorter, but I will put some questions into a different Q&A at some point, but what was the most difficult part of the academy? Overall, for me, that would definitely be PT, the physical training. Although I came in pretty decent shape, it was still just not what I was used to with working out, and it was very challenging. We had to pass a final PT test, and even if you had passed prior PT test, if you failed that last one, you failed the academy. Just the weight that held when not many other tests held that kind of weight was extremely stressful in that moment. And then also, one thing, I wouldn't say it was the hardest part of the academy, but I just feel that it was unnecessary because my academy operated and still does in a paramilitary kind of structure, and I just do not feel that that is necessary for most adults. It certainly wasn't necessary for me. I didn't need people screaming at me all the time. And actually, more than anything else, it was kind of laughable that other adults were screaming at adults. When I think back to that time, or I see videos of police academies, it seems kind of similar. I know it's different, but it seems the similar yelling and screaming at you like military training. And I just don't, I mean, maybe for really young kids who don't have a lot of maturity, but I was already at a point where, I mean, I knew this is what I was gonna do, and it was just dumb in my opinion. It didn't serve any purpose. No amount of yelling at me in the academy has ever made me feel on the street that I wouldn't yell at somebody on the street, if that makes sense. And the whole, like, no, they didn't break me down and build me back up. That didn't happen for me in the police academy. So if it happens for some people, okay, I guess. But I'm not really sure why you want to break people down in general, because that's really not how most people are going to be most effective and learn. But I just thought that was really unnecessary in the academy, and maybe that's something that will change. Really, a lot of the behavior in the academy, in my opinion, was abusive. So to scream and yell at somebody, I feel, is abusive behavior. It's certainly not something that's acceptable in any other aspect of law enforcement. If you have a supervisor doing that, which I've had that happen, then the next thing that happens is you have to proceed through your chain or file a complaint because it's unprofessional, and that's not how we operate as police. So I guess one could argue too, you know, I could argue with my experiences, was experiencing that yelling, screaming, abusive behavior, is that something that led them to believe that that was acceptable then later in their career with other people? So I don't know, but it just wasn't effective for me, and I feel that it's not effective for a lot of people. So hopefully that's something with police culture we can change. And going through that experience and process in that environment, I in no way feel that anybody going through it now should have to do the same thing, because I feel like it was not helpful or effective for anything. I feel like the more advanced and educated we become, we should be changing what we are doing to do what is most effective. You can do other things that can create stress within the body and the environment, and this is something I really give a lot of props to the range staff during our academy process, because we did physical training, but they weren't screaming and yelling. It wasn't any of that. They were getting our heart rate up. They were getting us in a more stressed environment. That's just something, didn't really feel it was necessary. Again, I'm gonna keep this video short. This is all that I have right now for this Q&A. If you have other questions or comments, please leave them down below. Let me know, and I will hopefully include that in another Q&A video. As always, thank you guys so much for watching, and thank you guys so much for being here. I really appreciate you. Y'all stay safe out there, and I will see you in my next video. Bye, guys.